What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Philly Hall, the official podcast of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. I'm Jim Montgomery, and I'm here with Steve Skalish. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, Jimmy, I'm matching your energy with the Philadelphia Blue Jays there. I like this.
I like it.
The old days when they tried to change their name for about 2 seasons and, I don't know, went over kinda like a lead balloon in the end, but we
Yeah,
remember it.
that was the Carpenter family trying to change the luck, but
Yeah. What did they think? They changed the luck because they were, terrible for so long in the 30s and
of
40s, and, I guess they thought it was the name. I mean, Phillies doesn't sound
course,
tough.
it's
Neither
not
does
the
Blue Jays.
players.
But, yeah, you made me get my, this is what they gave out a couple years ago, the Philadelphia, City Series hat with the
I like that.
A's. Yeah, because every year they every now and then they have the City Series, and I just went to one of those games this year to see the A's in Philadelphia. It doesn't have the same impact, I think, that it used to, but, for
No.
guys like me, it's kinda cool.
Well, I said that during that series. I'm like, the Phillies should do more to promote the A's. I know
Mhm.
it's a different organization now, but just like wear the throwback uniforms from the 20s
Oh,
and
y
30s.
they had to do that at least once, I think, and yeah, because I was there, it was toward the end of Veterans Stadium. I think it was the first time they had one of these, and I went to one of
Mhm.
those games. Back then, it actually was a little bit of a deal, but, yeah, I would have loved to have seen them break out. I mean, they'll break out uniforms for anything, just an excuse to sell something. Why not this?
Yeah, there's plenty of people that would buy A's stuff here. Like I know a guy that he's like big on when the A's were thinking about moving to Vegas. He was like, "Bring them back to Philly. We can
Oh.
support two teams."
I that might be going too far right now,
I think
but
so.
like, as a historian, I love old Philadelphia A's stories. I love to get Philadelphia A's memorabilia. I guess I'm just an old head at heart. I have a Connie Mack/Shibe Stadium seat in my,
Ah,
office.
that's awesome.
Yeah, one day we'll show that, but, yeah, I love that, and today we're gonna get into some baseball because we're recording this, you may be listening to it later once we put some clips out there, but we are recording this right about the time of the anniversary of Mike Schmidt's retirement in 1989, and gosh, that is a moment, a time period that I still remember like it was yesterday, and,
100%.
absolutely, and I was a Schmidt guy. I mean, I was born in '72. I until 1989, I did not know the Philadelphia Phillies without Mike Schmidt. He
No,
was just, you had the Phillies, you had Mike Schmidt. That's just the way it was. And, to have the Phillies at that time without Mike Schmidt was unfathomable. But I mean, it was clear he was declining. He wasn't the same guy. And I guess no one saw it coming in the middle of the season. That's the thing.
no, and they were on the West Coast too.
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid, I'm a little bit younger. I was born in '78, but same way. Like I grew up knowing nothing but Mike Schmidt, and I remember
Mhm.
my dad was like, Mike Schmidt retired last night. I'm like, wait, what? And it was just the shock of it. I'm like, no, what does that mean?
Mm.
And he
You
was
didn't know till
trying to
the day
explain it.
after? You were, I guess, you were 11 at the time, so you were
Yep.
off doing whatever, so you didn't really find out till later, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I was
it, it was
watching
sad.
yeah, I was watching TV that day when the announcements started happening,
Mhm.
and I remember this is what I remember, it was May of '89. I was doing my final report in, like, history class, and somehow I got to do, like, a history of baseball, so I was able to fit that in, and Mike Schmidt retires while I'm doing this, so I dedicated the report to him, on the
That's
first
awesome.
page, but, I might have got a B, I don't know, but I think the teacher was a Mets fan, but anyway.
Makes sense.
Um, lis I remember that time period because it turns out, and, I didn't know it at the time, and I wish I'd saved the ticket stub. I didn't save my ticket stubs very well back then, but I wound up at the game where he hit his last home run. It was
Oh,
May
wow.
2nd. Yeah, I went to a lot of games in 1989 for some reason. It was just easy to get tickets, and I just wound up going to a lot of games. It was against the Astros. Jim DeShays was on the mound,
Yep.
first inning, I believe. It was his first at bat, and he pulls one right down the left field line, hits it halfway up the fair screen. The foul pole at the time was just that big screen, and the ball hit halfway up, and it was a home run. It was like, "Hey, Schmidt hit a homer, nice, good, maybe he'll turn it around." And, I had no idea. I had no idea that was it. If I'd have known,
Man,
man,
I'm getting
I might have
chills.
appreciated it more. But, then the story goes that he went to the West Coast and just things were happening. He was starting to miss ground balls. He just, he wasn't as sharp as he was in defense. I think that's what did it, is when he realized that he just wasn't reacting the same way. And then he saw Will Clark on the other side hit a game-winning home run, a clutch one. And yeah, it was
And
Will Clark that kind
yeah,
of, and he realized, and Will Clark was in the prime. That was prime Will Clark, and he was one of my favorite opposing players, by the way. I loved
it
him.
was. I'd love to. He had such a sweet swing.
Beautiful swing, beautiful. But that was the day that he said, "I can't do it anymore." And the next day, he had the press conference, and then he came back and he had the press conference in the vet. And I did go to the game when they came back off the road trip. I did make it a point to go to that game and see his speech there, which people I
Mhm.
don't think remember as much. They didn't play it as much because they played the one when he came back. But yeah, he gave us a speech and throughout the first pitch, and that was it. We were without
Yeah.
Mike Schmidt, and we had
I
Chris
mean,
James.
kudos to him though, because how many guys do we see hanging on too long? And for him to realize, look, I can't do it the way I'm accustomed to doing it, and I'm not reaching my standards. That's it.
It hurts to actually say this, but Steve Carlton.
Yep.
Steve Carlton had, I mean, I was actually looking at his stats, like, after, he left the Phillies and he did those 2 years where he just bounced around. Those 2 years, his ERA total was over 6, and he was a losing pitcher. He was a he was 42, but, like, he couldn't even he couldn't even Jamie Moyer it at that time.
No,
He just, didn't have it, and it's they say that he hung around. I don't know. I've heard stories like, he had a manager that kinda took some of his money, so he felt like he needed to
he needed.
get a few more
That
paydays. I
sucks.
mean, yeah, it does stink, but, and it was terrible to watch because we're the ones that had to do it, had to cut him, and, yeah, it was clear he had declined, and
Mhm.
I remember Bill Giles breaking down, and it's like, we knew it was time, but, to see that happen. Schmidt declined. 88 was the year he only hit 12 home runs that year. I remember that.
Mhm.
87, 86, he won the MVP. 87, he still had a little juice. 88 was when he started, the shoulder was what did
Yep.
it. The
I
shoulder
remember
took
that.
him out. He had the rotator cuff problem. He tried to come back in 89 and, yeah, yeah, you could say kudos to him for not trying to stick it out. He probably could have tried to stick it out, but
But yeah, but I mean, at least to me though, like I always have, and one of the biggest memories to me about Schmidt is when he hit his 500th home run in
mhm,
'87,
mhm,
and playing wiffle ball in the backyard with my brother, and we would just mimic the home run trot and
mhm.
just the sheer joy he had on that, which a lot of people don't remember. That was a game winning home
Yes, it
run out
was.
in Pittsburgh.
It was ninth inning, and to put the Phillies in the lead, they were down, and it was a clutch, and, yeah, that whole stretch, he needed 5 going into the year, and, I was at the game where he hit 497, it was
Mhm.
against the Cubs. That was mild history to that game. It was, I think, the only game actually, I think he started in 2 games. He might have started 1 on a row, but it was the Veterans Stadium debut of Joe Cowley. You remember Joe Cowley?
I do.
They brought him in thinking, "Oh, well, he was a half decent pitcher for the White Sox." They brought him in thinking, "Oh, he might be a decent pitcher." And that first game, he was terrible. I never seen a worse. I think it was 7 earned runs, 1/3 of an inning pitch against the Cubs. And
Yeah.
he was awful, and he couldn't make it through the first inning. And Schmidt came up in the bottom, hit a solo shot, but they lost that game, I think 10-3. And they started off the year bad, like I think 1-8. Like Schmidt was actually said in the public that it was taking away the fun from going for 500, which, yeah, understandable.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, but he made that run, and I didn't think he was gonna get it that quickly, but he did. That was kinda quick, I think, to get 5, and it was a clutch one, so I think he made that memorable, but, you know, man, I could forever with memories on Schmitty, but,
Oh yeah.
now you wrote down in our segment here, and I think this is a great segment, to talk about this because, you know, when it comes to the history of the Phillies and the history of Philadelphia sports, I mean, 2 names, Dick Allen and Mike Schmidt, and they're intertwined because
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know Schmidt talked about how Dick Allen was a hero of his, growing up, as he would hear about him play, maybe caught, some games on TV, and I think he said he even tried to mimic Dick Allen's swing,
He
and
did.
now they're teammates in '75, and I read Dick Allen's book about this, and he talks a lot about the conversations he was having with Schmidt. Schmidt was, you could see the talent. He had it, but he was pressing. He was in his head. He
Yep.
was trying and it was Dick Allen who said to him, "You're one of the best hitters out there. Just relax and let it come to you. You know, let it come to you." And I remember he also said that to Greg Luzinski at the time. He said something that I remember. I even take it as life advice. He said to Greg Luzinski, "Never think home run. Always think two base hit." He's just like, hit the ball hard and play. Don't go for the big shot. Just get a
Yes.
hard hit and make something happen. And it takes a lot of pressure off you. It I
I told
apply
my
it to
son the same advice the other day. I'm like,
yeah.
honestly, you're trying too hard. I'm like, it's simple. See ball, hit ball.
Mhm.
That's it.
Just get your best swing on the bat, get the barrel on the bat, and then, run like heck and make something happen. I'm getting on
Yep.
second is important to the team. It takes the defense off. It makes the defense think about you, makes the pitcher think about you. It makes the pitcher have to throw better pitches to that next hitter. It's a team thing. So I think once he kind of got that in his head, you started to see things click for him. I think there was a story about some of the many stories I have in my head that one of the first times it clicked for him was that Schmidt just, he took a swing and he got good connection on the ball, but it wasn't as hard as swing. He just took a swing, made connection, drove it to the warning track off the wall, got a double out of it. He came back after that inning and he actually said to everyone, "I don't have to hit the ball hard in order to succeed." Like he got excited. It's like, I don't have to swing from my heels every single time.
Yeah. And it
And
wasn't long after that conversation that he hit the 4 home runs in Chicago then.
mhm. Well, I think did he use Dick Allen's bat?
I think he did. Yeah.
Yes. That
Which
heavy thing, which we'll talk about in a second, I think.
I was going to say, that's no easy feat.
No. I mean, he used the heaviest bat in the majors, and, yeah, he used Dick Allen's bat, and, yeah, I would say if you look at Schmidt, the trajectory of Schmidt's career, you could see 73, he had a terrible year, remember that, it was like
Yes.
198. But, 74, he started putting together, 75, he started putting together, but it was 76 when I think 76, 77,
It's,
that stretch is when he took off, and then 79 and 80 is when he became, like, elite. I mean, 80, he was
yes.
the best player in baseball, and I think for 80, 81, for at least 3 good years there, he was the best player in baseball, and everyone knew it, and
I
I
think
think
so.
yeah, I think he continued that for a while and, fell off a little bit 84, 85, and 86 had that MVP comeback, so, like, 5-tooler, legit 5-tooler, uh, I don't think there was anything he couldn't do if he really set his mind to it. He could run the bases, he could steal
He
one
could.
every now and then, and debate I get into these debates online all the time, best third baseman of all time. So many people say Brooks Robinson and look, Brooks, amazing.
No
George Brett,
disrespect, but
George Brett, amazing. But what people forget, Schmidt could pick it with the glove too. He had 12 Gold Gloves. Now, granted, I think Robinson had over 20. I mean, best defensive third baseman in history. No one's going to question that. But Robinson didn't have the offense.
no,
Robinson didn't affect the decent offensive players, no question. But he did not throw fear into the other team like Schmidt did. He did not.
no. And
And combine it with, defense that could at least be in Robinson's wheelhouse, if not as good as Robinson, definitely in his range. Like,
100%. And I've heard Brett say that Schmidt was better than me.
yeah,
Like, I don't even think he argues it. He was like, "No, he's hands down the best."
defensively, maybe. I mean, I think Brett was a better pure hitter. I mean, he hit 390 1 year. He was
Yeah, I
flirting
was
with
gonna
four.
say, he almost like, he
Yeah.
was an average hitter, but I think overall, I would
He
take
was a
Schmidt.
decent hitter. I think 270 for the career, and there were times when he kinda maybe he was never a heavy average hitter, but he got his average up over the years and he started learning and, 270 for Schmidt was fine, you know?
Yes.
Struck out like a power hitter does, but, you
He was
kinda
ahead of his time with that, though.
yeah. Yeah, he wasn't Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was swinging from the heel still, I think, but, yeah, that's, We could go on. It's too many memories. That barehanded throw. Come on, I
Yeah,
could still see it.
just pick it up off the turf.
Uh-huh. It was easy with that vet stadium turf. You got the true bounce, if you will,
Mhm.
as much as it killed his knees, and we know what it did to his knees in the end. But and then I think you mentioned here in our rundown, Dick Allen, and then Pete Rose gets here, and that's at 79. We mentioned that.
Yep,
Pete Rose, yeah, I think Schmidt still needed a little bit, and he finally got that other guy, and Pete Rose was the one in his ear saying, "You are the best player in baseball. You
100%.
absolutely are the best player in baseball. Just go be it." And I don't think it is not a coincidence that 79, 80, and 81 was his elite. That was his elite year.
Yeah, and because I think it's one thing too, like, to have a guy of that caliber saying, "You're you're the best, like, go
Mhm,
play like it." But I think it also took some of the pressure off of him too, being that he was the guy and Pete
mhm,
Rose was I think it was the richest free agent contract at the time,
mhm.
and he came in with the Pete Rose swag and sort of, I think maybe even took some of this. I don't want to say take the spotlight, but took some of the pressure off of him.
Yeah, I think so too, 'cause, they went through that stretch, 76, 77, and 78, where they were killing the division, but they couldn't get over the hump. And, Luzinski was also, he was putting up some gaudy numbers too, but, I don't think Greg Luzinski was never a leader type.
No,
He showed up, he did his thing, did it well, and, kinda just did his thing. They never really had Boa was God, I love Larry Boa.
yes, I
He
do
was
too.
fiery, but he was a certain type. There was not somebody who was really a takeover guy until Pete got there, and it still took him a year. I mean, 79, they had that stretch with they still struggled, and it wound up with the managerial change and brought Dallas Green in, and they had to change the culture, and it took a long time for that to stick. They fought with Green. I mean, they were not
Yeah,
used to it, but over that time in 79 and 80, things started taking hold, and I think the story was that they started playing despite Dallas Green, but
I was just my dad says that all to me all the
uh
time. He's like, "They won that World Series to spite Dallas Green,
but
100."
I I also think knowing the history of the Phillies and how tight they were, after that, when they used to come, I think every single one of them realized what Dallas was trying to do, and I think they all appreciated it after the fact because they knew. And, you know, August, September, when it all came together, they all bought in at the right time. And
Yes.
that's the important thing. They became that team we were waiting for them to become. And yes, having a guy like Pete Rose who drove that, absolutely drove that. And Schmidt had his greatest year, 48, 121. I heard 48 homers, 121 RBIs. Those numbers are etched in my brain.
Yeah.
And
No, what me
if
too.
the
I'm
strike
like,
hadn't happened in 81, God knows. That
they
could have been
never
a repeat.
recovered from that either. They
Mm-mm.
never recovered.
No, no, they had to retool in '83 by luck and get old and had that 1 year, but that was it. And '82, they kinda fumbled, but yeah, they never totally recovered. Well, Pete was also on the decline,
He was.
and yeah, '83, he was gone, and,
They
that's
just
just how
never had the young guys to step in then to, because I always say too, like, one of the biggest what if, and everybody talks about the trade in '82 when they traded away Ryan Sandberg. Could you
Mhm,
imagine an infield with Ryan Sandberg and Mike Schmidt, kind
mm,
of the passing of the torch?
mm, ah, I get a little sad. But it's also okay, well, talk about so they tried the youth, although one of the weird ways they did it was and I am a longtime Von Hayes defender. I think he got a bum rap in his town, but he
I
never got past 5 for 1. He
no,
never could. I thought he was a good player, and he was young at the time when he came in. They had some homegrown talent. They had Juan Samuel, who my second favorite Philly
I do like
ever.
Juan.
Oh god. They started having guys like Jeff Stone. Jeff Stone, had speed. He just never could quite put it together. They had young guys. Sammy was a flash, but I think he had certain skills. He needed certain other things around him. Free swinger. I don't think that helped him at the plate long term,
No,
but definitely exciting guy to watch. And Von Hayes was a good player. But he
I
was never going to be a star. He was going to be one of those guys that you put in there and he takes a spot. They never could find that mix.
Yeah. No, I always say that about Vaughn. Like, I felt like he was who he was, wasn't probably worth 5 players, and I think
Ugh.
people can't get over that, and the 5 players ended up turning out to not being that much in the
Well,
long run anyway.
Julio Franco.
Well, that's the
Mm,
one
yeah.
that
Manny Trio kinda he had a decent career after that. He was never like an all-star, but he was a still a serviceable second baseman for years. And, then I wonder where we would have seen Ryan Sandberg. Would he have been a shortstop with us? Could we have seen Trio and
possibly.
Sandberg for a while? Think back, but, and they had well, let's see, if I don't know if I can remember every Jay Baller, but he didn't do much. George Vukovich, you know, okay.
Yeah.
You don't really remember the other 3, but you remember Manny
I think
Trio
the
and
other guy was Jerry Willard, I think, for
Jerry
some
Willard,
reason.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, there were 3 other throw-in guys, but, it was Julio Franco became an
That would
all-star.
have been the one I wanted to would have liked
Well,
to
he would have
keep
been
of
the
all of them.
shortstop because he was a shortstop of the future, I believe, at the time, so
Yep.
I guess where you maybe you traded Trio somewhere else? I don't know.
Maybe for some pitching,
They coulda used
have
that well,
have
they
the
got
guy
John
that
Manning.
have the guy that replaced, Lefty then.
They tried that with Bruce Ruffin, worked for about a year.
There's a name from the past, Bruce
Yeah, oh,
Ruffin.
the '80s Phillies, we could do a
Yeah.
podcast on this
I was gonna
forever,
say Bruce Ruffin, Shane Raleigh, Don
uh,
Carmen.
Don Rose's Carmen, that's what, I never remembered why Chris Berman called him that, but my favorite Don Carmen story was the fact that he couldn't hit, and I think he was, like, 0 for his first 42, and he finally got the hit, and everyone made a big deal about it, and in 2003, when they closed the vet, I snuck my way down behind home plate right next to the tunnel where all the players were coming out, which was one of the greatest events of my life, and I saw Don Carmen come out. I yelled at him, "Hey, Don, nice hit." Hey, he turned around, he started laughing his butt off, and he started doing his stance. I was like, we had a moment.
That's incredible.
Because he knew I got it. He knew I got it. So I was like
Yeah,
and so let's go into some of the other segments we had planned before you do have the artifact, right?
I do.
Okay, but now that let's go to this. I think your other segment, the question was who personifies the Phillies?
Right, because
And
I feel like everybody, when you think Phillies, automatically, like, if you're of a certain age, you think Mike Schmidt.
Mhm.
But is he I think he's the greatest Philly to ever play.
Yes.
Um, but is he the guy that does he personify the Phillies?
What does personify the Phillies? Now, for
Uh,
people of a certain age, I could tell you that if you grew up of the '08 team, who you're gonna go.
Chase.
You're probably gonna go Chase Utley,
Yep.
although, you could go Jimmy Rollins. I was a Ryan Howard guy. That was my guy. But, did he
Yeah.
personify the Phillies? Well, I what does that mean? How many players from the '93 team they personified Philadelphia.
Yeah. 100%. Crux still does, I think.
Oh, yeah. Not even Kruk, Dalton, that whole God, I could go right down the list. They
Macho
personified what
Row.
they were. Huh? Oh,
Macho Row.
Macho Row, yeah. I mean, Dykstra, what he became at, but for '93, man, he was God, it was a
Whatever
joy to
he
watch.
was. Yes, he was. No, I mean, I think for me, I mean, you could go back. I'm sure, like, my dad talks Dick Allen all the time,
Mhm,
but just the way that his career sort of ended the first time here,
mhm.
I guess you could
It was a
say a
damn
guy like,
shame. Yeah, it was a product of the times, unfortunately, but
yeah,
people who knew. That guy
hmm,
was special, absolutely special. I didn't watch him play, and I knew he was special.
yeah.
I
No,
talk I
all I heard about was and like the heavy bat, just the BS that he had to deal
Mhm.
with the media. Sometimes, and I think that carried over with some of the fan base.
Yeah, it
Um,
influenced the fans, yes. Yes, because they got the story from the media, and it influenced them. So,
yeah,
and that was a damn shame. So, but I think some of the you can go back, Richie Ashburn,
yep,
and how long did Richie Ashburn, after a player, I mean, he stayed with us. You might argue that it could be Richie Ashburn just because he was such a part of our fabric through him and Harry for the '70s, the '80s, into the night for so many people coming to age. It was Harry and Whitey bringing you the game,
The
bringing
soundtrack
the
of
game.
summer, I always call them.
Absolutely. You know, they're really, and Kruk is kind of getting there, I think. You know, who got into our hearts as a player and as a broadcaster, and I think Kruk is definitely
Crook is up,
getting
yeah.
into that. I mean, I don't know that he's, you know, I don't know that he's Whitey because he hasn't been here as long, but as far as how we love him, I think he's definitely got that same amount of love now.
Yeah.
And,
I have the sentimental value to Whitey though, just from
mhm,
growing up with it and just the quirky, just like Crook, like the quirky stories about when I
mhm.
played. And um, Gladys is celebrating a birthday today,
Yeah.
98 years young.
Okay, favorite, Whitey-ism. Let's just go. You first.
Hard to believe, Harry.
Okay. That's a simple one. Or how about like a story of something that he said that was just hilarious? I have a
Oh, the
few.
pizza, the story with
Yeah.
Celebrezze Pizza, the Celebrezze twins.
All right. So we can. Do you want to go through how the story is? Because I could tell it too. I don't want to
Yeah, I
hog it.
mean, they were getting so Harry and Whitey would get in trouble for because the teams were just
Yeah,
horrible
Whitey
back
would.
then.
Yeah, Whitey was the
Yeah,
one who did it.
so he would order pizzas from Celebrezze, have them delivered to the press box, and I guess the Phillies, because they weren't an official sponsor, didn't really look too kindly on that.
Yeah,
So
you
they
can't
always
do
did their birthday shout outs. And one day he's like, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to the Celebrezze twins,
that.
pepperoni and plain.
Beautiful. And sure enough, they delivered.
They did.
They delivered. Did you ever have Celebrate Pizza?
I have.
Oh,
It's good.
fantastic. I had one of my I think I had my 40th birthday there just for the heck of it. Yeah,
That's
fantastic
awesome.
pizza. I love them. But,
Yeah.
I think my favorite was when he talked about bringing his bats to bed. Like, it was the
I remember that
superstition
one.
back then that, if you are having a good stretch with a bat, you'd bring it to bed with you and, sleep with the bat next to you in bed and bring it out to the ballpark next day. And he just started telling that story in the air, and there was a pause, and he suddenly says, Harry, I went to bed with a lot of old bats in my day. I swear to God, they couldn't say anything for like 3 pitches because they couldn't stop laughing. He would just hit that just on.
It was just perfect. The timing was just perfect.
I thi what made that perfect was that Harry and Whitey genuinely loved each other. They were best friends. They were,
They were.
and you knew that love when I do think that when Whitey was gone, Harry was still Harry, but Harry was never the same. Like,
It was a
you
little
knew.
bit.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
just
Well,
and he knew it.
you know the story at Citizens Bank Park that Ashburn Alley is where it is. The
Mhm,
statue is if like I've taken a tour before, and if you go up into the TV booth,
mhm,
it is directly in the sight line of where Harry Callis would sit because he was like, I want to make sure I'm able to watch the game with my friend.
mhm. That made sense. 'Cause I've been up there many times. I have friends up there, that I get up there, and yeah, it's, nothing like being in a booth. I mean, it never gets
Oh,
old,
it's
but never gets old.
never.
But, yeah, I could totally see that. That totally makes sense. And, back in the day, I used to go up there and see Harry. Like, "Oh, hey, it's Harry Callis." And, like, I remember one
Yeah.
time I've always been good friends with the Spanish announcers, Bill Kulick, and, for a while, Ricky Ricardo, and then, some of those guys who went through Oscar Budehen most recently. And, I'd be up there talking to those guys. I would be in the back stairwell, and Harry comes in the back stairwell, to smoke. He used to
Yep.
smoke in the back stairwell. I'm like, "Who's gonna tell him no?" But I'm like, "Harry's back there." He's like, lighting up. "Hey, Harry."
Hello.
Please. How you doing? Oh, gosh. So, all right, I'm ready for the
Before we
relic.
move up,
Oh,
I was
yes,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
before we move on, let's get you guys involved too. What do you think personifies the Phillies? Leave a comment wherever you're watching this.
Absolutely.
Let us know. Is there anybody that we missed that
Mhm.
personifies the Phillies more than some of the guys we discussed?
Yeah, we gotta get into the rhythm of putting we're gonna start getting into the rhythm of establishing these on social media and start getting some of that
Yes,
conversation going. I would love to see what people are gonna have to say to that. So let's get that going this week, Jim.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
All right. So, yeah, okay, show it to me.
All
We were
right.
talking about the bat, but
So
did you know we had
speaking,
the bat?
This is Dick Allen's final bat he used with the Phillies in 1976. It even has, and I'll put better pictures up, but
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see that. It has the 1976 bicentennial
Yep.
logo
Mhm.
stamped, or I guess
Mhm.
branded right on there. And
Mhm.
when I
Show us the
say
signature. You see? Yeah, get a good look right there.
there's the signature,
Uh-huh. I think it has a number on the end, doesn't it? On the barrel?
15.
Mhm. It's number 15.
And when I say it's heavy, it is heavy.
Now we got the can you tell us where we got that from? There is a backstory?
I believe Dick Allen or the Phillies, one of them donated it to the Hall of Fame. He was
Mhm.
like, "You guys should have this." I think it was the Phillies. Somehow they ended up with it, and they were
Mhm.
like, "You guys should have it." And I think it's one of the coolest pieces that we have at the Hall of Fame, to be
Now, you when
100%
the
honest.
first time you brought it out to an event, I think it was the, induction ceremony last year that I saw it, and I just went, "You've got Dick Allen's bat." I
Yeah,
just had to pick it up, had to feel what that was like because 'cause I'd heard it, and it's like, I love a
it
heavy bat, actually. When I swing, I like to have the top heavy bat, so it actually felt a little natural to me, although I don't know that I could have swung it on a regular basis.
no.
But I wanna look up I did this before, between us, but I like looking up that game, because I'm gonna go through the 1976 Phillies season, in baseball reference and figure out what he did in that last game.
But to me, like my dad would always talk, and they called it the Dick Allen Special. They used to get, because I guess growing up, when my dad was born in the 50s, they didn't have the aluminum bats. So they all
Uh,
used wooden bats, and everybody wanted to use a Dick Allen bat.
uh-huh,
And he said it was heavy. The coaches hated it, but we all
uh-huh.
thought we were the coolest things ever because we had the Dick Allen bat. And he never did tell me whether he had success with it or not, but the
Mm,
fact that he was able to use it. And speaking of that too, my dad to this day is still heartbroken over the '64 Phillies.
yeah, I think anyone who lived through that, just say the name Chico Ruiz and you'll get a reaction.
Yep.
I read all I yeah, I know everything about that because I just read it incessantly. It was
And
incredible.
and they all said once it snowballed, there was nothing they could do.
Mhm. Ah, unbelievable. But, so Dick now if this was you say this is from the last regular season game. We don't know if he
Yeah, it
used
was regular season.
yeah. That was October 3rd, 1976. It was in Veterans Stadium. It was a Sunday game, day game against the New York Mets. The Phillies won 2-1 to win their 101st game of that season. And it was a 2-1 win. Steve Carlton got the win. 9 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts, a lefty start, and beat Craig Swan. Nino Espinosa pitched 2 innings for the Mets. Uh, but let's see. There weren't any major big hits in that game. Dick Allen was 0 for 1, 2 walks. I don't know if he got the bat on the ball, but he did score a run. And Dave Cash went 2 for 3 with an RBI. Mike Schmidt, 2 walks. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of offense in that one. Larry Boa got a hit and scored a run. But yeah, that
They were
was the
gearing
last
up
game.
for, yeah, that was the Red Series, so they were gearing up for the Big Red Machine that year, or that
Yes.
game probably.
Yeah. And we all know that didn't go very well. Although looking at the scores, it was 6-3, 6-2, 7-6. I mean, they put up some offense at least. But I think
Yeah,
that well, the big deal was Dick Allen did play in the first game, which was in Veterans Stadium, and he went, I'm just going through that, 1 for 3. Uh no, that was yeah, okay. So that was October 9th against the Reds. I don't know that he did he play in the next one? Yeah, he went 1 for 3. So he hit 3 scored a run in the second game. So he was 3 for 333 so far. And then in the last game, yep, 0 for 3. So he batted 222, but he, got a little bit of offense in there.
bad. I mean, he was nearing the end at that point, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Then he went to Oakland and became Wampum on the back. Now, to end this one off, let's see. What did you choose as the rapid fire question? Which event in Philly sports history would you like to attend live or like to have attend live? I'm sure you're talking about a past one.
Yeah, it's something that you never got to. So I think for me, the obvious ones would be either the Eagles' 2 Super Bowls
Mhm,
or the Phillies World Series, but I think the celebrations after them were so much fun being here in Philly, um,
mhm.
that I wouldn't choose them. And we're coming up on the anniversary of this one too. Coincidentally, I didn't do that on purpose, but probably game 1 of the '01 NBA Finals when the Sixers beat the Lakers out in LA. I think that
Mhm,
would have been just because sitting here, it was an intense game and we were
mhm.
like on the edge of our seats, but to be there in a hostile environment would have been fun.
The step over. And
Yes.
I was living in Boston at the time, wearing my Sixers stuff and living and dying. And, went into that Lakers series thinking we just went through such a tough 7-game series against Toronto. I'm thinking, "We're not gonna have anything left." I'm just thinking, "Well, okay, Lakers are just gonna stomp us," and then they came out and did that. And I
Yeah.
started having some hope. Now, granted, they lost game 2, right? Coming out of LA with a split. Do you
I was
remember
happy.
how do you remember how excruciating game 3 was? That was a tight game, and then Shaq fouls out in the
Yep.
4th quarter, and I'm going, "Oh my god, we've got Shaq out of the game. This is our chance." What
Yep.
happened?
Kobe.
Kobe happened. Kobe did what he said he was gonna do. He cut our hearts out.
He did. And I still like, because I think a lot of people forget that game 3 was so tight
It was
that the
very tight. I
Sixers
mean,
were in that.
that turned the series. If the Sixers could have pulled that off, but I they were disheartened. I think they were tired because everyone came into that series hurt. Like,
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
was
They
playing on
were.
fumes. Everyone except Matt Geiger was playing through 'em. So, I'm not bitter.
No,
Uh,
no, not at all.
but everyone was playing with something, and I think that just took the wind out of their sails. Because I remember game 4 and game 5, they just had nothing after
No.
that, and it was
And they had
done.
played back-to-back tough
Right.
7-game series even to get there.
They fought through so much to get there, and they were going through so much, and that was it. You had Shaq on the bench, and this Kobe did Kobe, and yeah, how mad were we at him? Sure, but looking back now, what do you
We
expect?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
legend doing legend
that
stuff.
was like when it was he was bo that was born, I think, the
Mhm,
Mamba mentality,
mhm. Like he said, he was coming here to cut our hearts out. We took that personally because he was supposed to be one of us, but come on, that's his job.
and then he did it.
He did it well, and, hey, hats off. So, oh, yeah, so, yeah, I think gosh, it would be easy to just say, "Yeah, I'd wanna be there for a World Series clincher." Yeah. I think '08 more. 1980, my thing I was 8 years old, and I was watching on the couch, and I actually fell asleep, and no one woke me up, so I never got to see Tug McGraw's last pitch.
Oh, no.
Ah, yeah, but then I got to see '08, and I called my mom, and I said, "I forgive you."
All is forgiven.
Yes, yes. I don't think I could have topped that. To be at a Super Bowl, I think to be there for the Philly special,
That
probably,
would have been
but
yeah.
yeah, to go for basketball, gosh, I mean, to be there for '83, but I think, seeing the Stanley Cup, seeing
That
that
would be
goal, seeing the Spectrum go crazy. The Sixers never got to win one in the Spectrum. The one time that the Spectrum got to host a real championship was that, and I think that would be because just to feel the spectrum in that moment, I don't think you could have ever topped that,
no, I
ever.
don't think there's anything like playoff hockey either.
No,
Just like
no.
I went to like a first round game against the Senators one time, and
Mhm.
that was intense.
Yeah,
I can only imagine as you go progress through the rounds how crazy it
yeah.
gets.
My mother took me, to one of the games of the Wales Conference Finals when the Flyers were playing Quebec. I think it was game 3, and they won, and, Pelly Lindbergh was in goal, and, but it was one of the loudest things I've ever heard. The spectrum was insane, and, like, I remember this guy just brought this huge cranking noisemaker. We would just go, and he was across the spectrum where we could all hear. And when they scored a goal, I swear to God, you felt it in your gut, the
Yeah,
noise.
see,
So
that's incredible.
nothing, and then that spectrum was so damn crowded in between periods, 3 levels emptying into
It
1
was tight.
concourse. You got to know people real fast, but man, you felt like you were just connected to that team by the hip,
Mhm.
more so than in any and, Wells Fargo Center's been it was a nice building, and I've always liked it, but it lost something.
It's not as intimate, I agree. Like,
No.
it's
And the spectrum wasn't sustainable the way we were doing it
it was
for
not.
long-term financial health, but man, uh, stories. That's where the
Yeah.
stories were. So,
No, and I think that's what ultimately this podcast is gonna end up being, especially once we get guests, just the
mhm,
stories, because I think that's what makes Philly sports a little bit more unique because we don't have the championships, so being able to have those stories of coming together for when we do go on runs, I think is
mhm.
second to none.
I tell that to my son because my son is, my son really doesn't know life where the Eagles were terrible. Uh, but I said to him, it's like, the fact that we lived through some terrible years. But when they finally got over that hump, I can't describe that feeling of
Oh,
how
yeah.
absolutely unbelievably sweet it was for us. Like I said,
Yep.
you can win a ton of championships in Boston, and the first ones were special, but after a while, it's like, none of yours were as special as that 2017 was for us. None
There
of
never
yours.
will be.
No,
Not even
I
24.
well, no, well, for Boston, and I pick on Boston because I lived up there for a long time. The Red Sox winning was a big deal. That even made me
Yes.
cry because I knew what that meant. That was theirs. For us, it was the Eagles. The
Mhm.
thing where you looked back to your grandfathers and said, "We did it." Your grandparent.
Finally.
Yeah,
Yep.
this was for you. That's what that meant. So, I think we have, done 40 minutes of gold here, and,
I love
I'm
it.
ready to go.
All good. We'll be back again. Be sure to check me out every Monday through Friday, This Day in Philly Sports History, wherever you get your podcasts, and as well as on YouTube for more
Mhm.
stories like this.
Yeah.
Today was the anniversary, by the way, of the Sixers championship parade from '83, where they
Oh,
went
yeah.
down Broad and ended at the Vet.
Yeah. I remember that. Remember
And
that
then
well.
all social media at Philly Jimbo. And let's have some good dialogue and discussion. Tell us what personifies the Phillies, what you would like to see as your uh, sporting event in Philly sports history that you'd like to see live. All of it's fair game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what
Absolutely.
about you, Steve?
Ah, I haven't built up anything like that yet. I love,
We'll
this.
get you
This is
there.
this is my promotion, but, I should build up some other channels now. You're inspiring me.
I got a lot to say, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I built this whole set with the sweet mic. It's like, maybe it's time for me to
It's
start using it.
use it. Use it.
There you go.
Also, be sure to check out the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame preview
Yeah.
gallery up at Spikes up in the Northeast on Grant Avenue. And check out Spikes too. I mean, they do a good job with their
Yeah.
trophies and medals and things like that. So do one stop shop. Go look at some
Mhm.
Philly sports history and pick up some trophies and medals and whatever else you need with them.
Down the line, we're gonna go there, and we're gonna feature that place a little bit more. So,
Yes.
all right. Jimmy, thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Steve. And we will see you next time on the Philly Hall.